It's the classic dilemma of natural versus modified. Is it good versus evil? Or is it just another step in the march of agricultural progress?
One big controversy that science has today is whether or not genetically modified organisms are bad for you or not. There seems to be a sort of tug-of-war going on between different food places and means of media on what the health effects really are. Recently, Chipotle claimed to be GM over it, as they made a public proclamation about how they eliminated GMOs entirely from their products. Little does the public know, and probably most members of the Chipotle staff, that Chipotle had a lawsuit because they still feed their cattle food that contains GMOs. Jimmy Kimmel brought this issue to light on his talk show about what the controversy is, and then interviewed people to see how they felt about it. The general consensus was that people were against it, but couldn't seem to explain why. The widespread confusion is leading to a chaos of public controversy. Perhaps the most important question would be, what even are GMOs?
One of the reasons Chipotle gave for getting rid of GMOs in their food is that Chipotle should be a place where people can eat food made with non-GMO ingredients. Do you think that's a good and compelling reason to get rid of GMOs?
Of course.
Why?
They want people to have the option to eat somewhere that doesn't use GMO-based products. It's a great idea.
Do you know what GMO stands for?
Genetically modified organisms.
Do you eat at Chipotle?
Yes.
Did you know that they recently made a campaign to get rid of GMOs in their foods?
Yes, I did.
Do you try to avoid GMOs in your diet?
I don't specifically try to avoid them just because I don't really know the lasting effects, but knowing that if food is GMO-free is always a positive.
Chipotle?
Yes.
How do you feel about them taking GMOs out of their foods?
I feel fine about it.
What are GMOs?
I don't know.
But what really are GMOs? The Cambridge Online Dictionary defines genetic modification as the process of changing the structure of the genes of a living thing in order to make it healthier, stronger, or more useful to humans.
Special characteristics such as resistance to disease, size, color, or resistance to bruising are all linked to certain segments of an organism's DNA.
Scientists can alter or remove these segments in order to change selected characteristics in subsequent generations. This allows for disease-free corn, larger soybean yields, redder tomatoes, all for examples.
Even though 88% of researchers believe GMOs are just as safe to eat, the 12% that dissent cause the controversy and can sway the public opinion. In fact, this is the same process scientists have been using for decades to produce human insulin inside of bacterial cells for diabetes patients.
So what's all the controversy about? Most of the controversy revolves around education. Consumers just don't know what GMOs really are. In reality, there is a lack of long-term testing of GMOs, and consumers want to be 100% sure that what they're putting into their bodies is safe.
Additionally, many supermarkets or restaurants use GMO-free labeling as a marketing technique. They want customers to buy the supposedly better GMO-free foods, even if such assumptions are not grounded with solid evidence. This marketing creates a negative opinion of genetically modified foods, just by comparison.
Genetic modification has been occurring since prehistoric times. Farmers employed selective breeding on wild grasses to form precursors to wheat, corn, and rice, and Europeans crossed male donkeys with female horses to yield mules. Organisms have also been manipulated through fermentation to create foods such as yogurt, sauerkraut, and even beer. In 1866, Gregor Mendel published his Fundamental Laws of Inheritance, which did not gain acceptance until 1900. At this point, botanists began to take advantage of Mendel's discoveries as they crossed different plant varieties to yield ideal characteristics. In 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick, with the help of crystallographer Rosalind Franklin, published an accurate model of the structure of DNA. This model enriched humanity's understanding of this molecule of life and thus laid the foundation for genetic engineering. In 1980, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the ability to patent genetically modified life forms in the Diamond v. Chakrabarty case. This decision enabled the development of Humulin, human insulin manufactured by genetically engineered bacteria, in 1982. Humulin was the first bioengineered consumer product. In 1987, the U.S. conducted its first field tests of genetically engineered crops, tobacco and tomatoes. In 1992, the U.S. Department of Agriculture approved the production of Calgene's Flavor Saver tomato, provoking fierce opposition from GMO critics. In 2003, the Cartagena Biosafety Protocol went into effect to regulate the trade and sale of genetically modified crops. The United States is not among the 166 countries that have ratified this protocol to date. The controversy over the regulation and sale of GMO foods pervades modern American society.
So what are both of the arguments here? The non-GMO project asserts that genetic modification is a relatively new science that creates unstable combinations of plant, animal, and viral genes that do not occur in nature or through traditional crossbreeding methods. Their biggest goal is to have all genetically modified foods labeled. The non-GMO project states that 60 developed countries around the world, including all of the European Union, Japan, and Australia, are against GMOs. However, the true risk of GMOs on their website is never stated. According to scientists, GMOs benefit the environment by making agriculture more sustainable and are safe to eat. A review has been compiled by an Italian team consisting of 1,783 studies, including those completed by independent researchers, summaries of general literature, environmental impact, and safety of consumption and traceabilities of genetically modified organisms. The compiling team assert that there was little to no evidence that GM crops have a negative impact in the surrounding environment, and no evidence of unique allergens or toxins in the crops, as well as no evidence that the DNA of these crops will be absorbed into the GI tract during digestion, a popular claim by anti-GMOers. The team also notes that gene flow, contamination of other crops nearby, does exist. However, the flow is also evident in wild plants and non-GM crops. GM technology has been around for 30 years and is among the most scientifically tested subject in history.